At the peak of World War II, the Allies had been struggling against the Nazis. The Nazis were well in Europe, and the Allies were making little to no progress against them. With the Allies suffering major casualties throughout the war, finally a decision was made by the Allied High Command to launch an attack on German-occupied France, dated to begin in early July of 1942. The town of Dieppe, being coastal and easy to reach, was chosen for this raid.
The goal was very simple: seize a major port, gather intelligence, destroy defenses, and leave. But none of those objectives were achieved. The raid had been carefully planned, but very flawed and made failing very easy.
On August 19, 1942, more than 6,000 troops, 80% of them being Canadian and the rest being the British commandos, French nationals and American Rangers prepared to launch a major raid on the German-held borders and beaches in Dieppe. British Lieutenant General of the Southeastern Command, Bernard Montgomery, supplied the troops for the attack. He decided that the 2nd Canadian Division were to make up the bulk of the invading force. For up until that time, they had been training in the United Kingdom for about 2 years and hadn't really seen much of a real war yet. They were supplied with about 237 ships of landing craft and 74 squadrons of aircraft. The raid was codenamed Operation Jubilee and was supposed to start in the early mornings of August 19, 1942. The beaches had been color-coded to green, red, white, and blue. However, little did the Allies know that the Germans had been expecting the attack, making sure that Dieppe was well protected. In the air, the Royal Air Force fighters searched for German machine gun positions and dug into the cliffs of the beaches, engaging the German Air Force in battles overhead. British warships approached from the English Channel, attacking the shores, clearing coastal defenses, and providing a smokescreen for the attack. These tactics weren't so effective as from the cliff tops, the enemies were able to see the full lengths of every beach and every vehicle approaching. At the Blue Beach, the Royal Regiment of Canada arrived late and were quickly caught in the midst of heavy fire from the enemies. Mortars, shells, and bullets were dropping all around them. They were quickly annihilated before even reaching the shores. Only about 60 of the 540 men were extracted later from the beach. At the Green Beach, the Saskatchewan Regiment arrived on time, but landed in the wrong spot and had to cross a river and go over a heavily guarded bridge. The Cameron Highlanders were right behind them, but were forced to retreat after being unable to reach their target. Some Cameron Highlanders pushed inland and were forced back by the German reinforcements. At the Red and White Beaches, the Royal Hamilton Infantry and Essex Scottish Regiment were supported by 27 tanks. However, the tracks of the tanks had been stripped by the stones on the beach, making them stuck on the beaches right in front of the Nazis. Other tanks that had crossed the beaches were stopped by concrete walls. The troops who made it on the beaches were gunned down aggressively by hitting Germans on the cliff tops. Canadian General J.H. Roberts could not see if the objectives had been completed or not due to the heavy smoke screen laid down to support landing crafts. He was unaware of what was happening and decided to send in 2 reserve units for help. The first unit of the Mount Royal Riflemen was quickly wiped out after going straight under the cliffs towards the center of the town. The Royal Marine commanders, whom had been given a new mission at the last minute to go in and support them, their transfer from the landing boats wasn't successful. Hidden Germans shot at the commandos before even reaching the beach. By 11 a.m., realizing the raid was doomed, the British commanders ordered the troops to evacuate the beaches as soon as possible. The exit was also in disarray and was completed at 2 p.m. The beaches were full of dead and wounded. Most soldiers who tried to escape were shot and drowned before even reaching the landing craft.
The Allies suffered major losses that day. 3,367 Canadians of the 5,000 were either killed, wounded, or captured. The British commandos suffered 275 casualties, and the U.S. Army Rangers suffered 17. The Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force lost 1 destroyer, 33 landing crafts, 106 aircrafts, and over 500 casualties combined. The Germans suffered minor losses compared to the Allies, only losing 48 planes and having 591 casualties. Back home in Canada, newspapers reported Dieppe as a major victory, quoting that every objective had been achieved in a 9-hour time period. But once the soldiers never started to return home, suspicion started to rise and finally the public found out what had actually happened. Shock spread throughout the entire nation like wildfire. The raid was a complete failure for the Allies in all ways. Many reasons can be seen as to why the mission was destined to fail from the beginning. Due to the continuing bad weather, the raid was being postponed and General Montgomery wanted the operation to be called off, fearing the attack plans would be leaked. But soon, he was transferred and wasn't involved in the planning any longer. The delay in the invasion also gave time for the Germans to get ready for the Allies. The mission to invade Dieppe was also a terrible choice as military officials already knew that the port was heavily guarded, but decided to go on with the plan anyways. The Germans were also almost invisible to the Allies and the Allied scouts, who couldn't spot the machine gunners on the cliff tops. In addition, Major General J.H. Roberts had been on a ship with poor communication and didn't know about the chaos around him. There had also been many last-minute changes such as using small destroyers instead of big battleships, reducing aerial bombardment, and much more leading to the failure of the mission. Finally, the Germans had been informed that Dieppe was a major interest point of the British and were on high alert at all times.
John Warefoot was a Canadian military chaplain and politician born in Ontario, Canada. He was awarded the Victoria Cross for his actions at Dieppe. In December 1939, he enlisted in the Canadian Army and was posted to the Royal Light Infantry as the regimental chaplain with the rank of honorary captain. When receiving the prestigious award, he was only 38 years old.
During the 8 hours of battle at Dieppe, Captain Foote calmly walked through intense fire, collecting the wounded and carrying them to safety. After the 8 hours, when it was time for the Allies to retreat, he climbed out of the landing craft that would have taken him to safety and deliberately walked into German defenses in order to be taken as a prisoner to be able to help his fellow soldiers who were also captured. The battle is significant today to Canadians because later on, D-Day would become a success from the failures of Dieppe. The battle showed flaws in areas which could be improved such as communication, support, pre-bombing, and weaponry. The raid had also been an experiment for trying new methods of assault.
However, questions have been asked about why the soldiers had been sent into the mission with so little room of success, or if the insights gained from Dieppe did play a crucial role in Normandy. These difficult questions are still being argued to this day, and honestly, we don't have a confirmed answer. Although I personally think that the Dieppe raid was very significant to us Canadians, it may not be the answer others are pleased with. Therefore, I leave you with this one question, of whether you think that Dieppe was significant or not.